on, you guys, let's do it!
It's not every day you play a game that not only your friends highly recommend, but it merges the gameplay styles and mechanics of major titles like the combat from Doom Eternal, the enemy introductions of, say, Devil May Cry, a smartass character like Deadpool or Dante, and really pretty graphics that you get in really any recent release game. Shadow Warrior 3 has just released, and it is a fun first-person shooter that had me sweating and laughing at the same time, but is it better than Doom?
On second thought, no, not really, no.
Now, I've never played a Shadow Warrior game before, so if you're looking for someone to compare this game to previous entries in the series, you will need to look elsewhere. Now, I got asked if I'd like to take a look at Shadow Warriors 3, and my mates not only recommended I cover it, but they also recommend the series as a whole too. And I thought, why not? And damn, Shadow Warrior 3 is fun. If you've played Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, or obviously previous entries in the Shadow Warrior series, then you already know what you're in for. But like me, if you've never played a Shadow Warrior game before, the first-person shooter combat is pulled straight from Doom. The traversal is pulled straight from Doom. The executions are also pulled from Doom, but the weapons are also kinda pulled from Doom. Basically, 80% of Shadow Warrior 3, in my opinion, is Doom, but hey, there is nothing wrong with pulling inspiration and gameplay mechanics from Doom. However, there is a little bit of Devil May Cry here with the enemy variants. Now, no, there's no puppets with razors for hands, but anytime you take on a new enemy variant, you'll get a cutscene and a little introduction and a pop-up of their name, or at least it reminded me of Devil May Cry. Story-wise, you play it as the character Lo Wang, who accidentally released an ancient dragon who's destroyed most of the world, and it's up to you to stop, catch the dragon.
God damn it, Dad, get off our Xbox!
Hang on, I almost caught the dragon!
You almost got me.
And, well, kill it. Throughout the story, you go from ancient temples on mountaintops, destroyed temples on mountaintops, icy mountaintops, dense jungles, ride on and inside the dragon itself. And I'll come back to the environments a little later, but the key star of the show here is Lo Wang, who acts a lot like Deadpool.
Yeah, we better bail. That thing looks like a G-string trying to hold back last night's curry.
That looks good.
Some moments I was laughing and having a lot of fun as Lo Wang was making pop culture references, but after a while it did become a bit painful, and I'll get back to that a bit later. There is something though that separates Shadow Warrior 3 from Doom, and it is the enemies. There are a decent variety of enemies of that, and while I know what they are and what attacks they do, I couldn't remember nor care what they're actually called.
You probably should ignore that.
Obviously, each enemy has a weakness too, and there are weapons available here in Shadow Warrior that are somewhat varied, but you won't have as many weapons as you do in, say, Doom. There's only really 6 weapons in the game, and some weapons are obviously better than others when taking on certain enemies. But major difference I found is the executions here in Shadow Warrior 3. They are not copied and pasted from Doom, but you get rewarded from the executions. Execute a cannon fodder goon and you'll gain 100 health on top of your normal health bar, buffing you from 100 HP to 200 HP. And this is the only way to get to 200 HP. Do it to enemies that shoot ice at you and you'll rip out a part of their skull and you'll throw it like an instant freeze grenade. Enemies that look a little bit like Hellboy, you rip out the bone inside their giant fist and then use it like a hammer. You get the point. You execute an enemy and you get a special weapon or ability for a limited time. But unlike the chainsaw in Doom, you'll need to earn the execution abilities. Each demon you kill will be rewarded with golden orbs that fill this gauge. Fill 1 bar and you can take out the lesser demons like the cannon fodder ones or the ice guys. Get 2 bars and you can take out some of the more powerful demons who remind me a little bit of Yoshimitsu from Tekken or another enemy variant. So, it plays like Doom, and it has some Devil May Cry aspects or some areas that reminded me of Devil May Cry. It also has a character that is very much, well, Deadpool in its constant wisecracking, but it also has a little bit of the Bulletstorm vibes too, and it all comes together to make a pretty damn fun first-person shooter. The combat is smooth, the weapons are fun, and each work well in different environments. Of course, there is a shotgun that, like in all first-person shooters should do, fucking slaps. The pistol is actually quite accurate, and I found it great for platforming puzzles. The grenade launcher and railgun do a decent amount of damage, and flipping through them, at least on PC, felt natural and smooth. Just like in games like Doom, staying still will get you killed, so you need to be bouncing around the combat arenas basically constantly, and in some instances activating traps and taking out larger enemies so you don't have to worry about them. Now something that Doom didn't really have at all was a dope ass samurai sword which can be used at any time. Now you'll start the game with a pistol and the samurai sword before picking up and swapping and choosing between railguns or 2 SMGs, but the samurai sword is used when cannon fodder enemies get too close to you and you just want to slice through them. Sometimes during combat, if it was simpler enemies that just popped up, I'd go in using nothing but the samurai sword. Lo Wang will have the ability to use his chi to force, push and stumble enemies, but I barely use this ability. In fact, 80% of the game I didn't use this ability until I accidentally used it on a floating laser head enemy, and it caused the enemy to flip around and get stunned, exposing its weak spot on its back. And then from there, that's all I really used it for. Now through exploring the levels, or in some instances, you'll just find grey and purple orbs which will level up both Lo Wang and his weapons. There's upgrades to increase your health, your chi, which again, never really use, or upgrade your weapons giving you more ammo, or certain weapons having extra damage bonuses like the submachine gun dealing electrical damage. And yes, there's also a full auto upgrade for the shotgun too, and yes, it still fucking slaps. But there are some things I found weren't necessarily for me when it came to Shadow Warrior 3. While the combat is smooth, fluid, and fun, the level designs were very copy-paste. Ancient temples on mountaintops for 80% of the game, and then when you're inside the dragon, and yeah, spoilers I guess, but when you're inside the dragon, it's temples inside the dragon. Yeah, Doom basically had you run around Mars inside facilities, but each map or battle arena felt fresh and unique, where a lot of the time I was running through the same areas with different backdrop dressings. When it came to story, well, just like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal 2, you're not obviously playing Shadow Warrior 3 for the story, but for the combat and the puzzling, because that's fun. But there is a story here with cutscenes, dialogue, etc, and the story here is a bit forgettable, but it's also pretty straightforward too. Stop the dragon that's causing world-ending damage. That's basically it. When I first started playing Shadow Warrior 3, I kind of enjoyed Lo Wang for about 2 hours or so, and it sort of felt like listening to Billy Talent. Sounded alright at first, but then it turned into Terrence and Phillip.
I farted once on the set of Blue Lagoon.
I found Lo Wang got pretty cringy, and it felt like the game wanted to be like Deadpool or Dante or Ryan Reynolds, though again, this was my experience with the game and your opinion may vary. Now at the start of the game, I started to get a bit tired of moving from combat to combat like you would in say Doom 2016, but the second level of the game gives you a grappling hook which basically makes you Spider-Man.
Does whatever a spider can.
Now, just like in Doom Eternal, you can use this like a grappling hook to latch on and launch yourself around combat arenas, and it's obviously used to traverse the world through some puzzles. Lo Wang can climb on vines, wall run on what appears to be vines or moss, shoot weak golden thorns that open up pathways. Now these moments are great, and in some instances you'll need to avoid falling ice shards or ride around on a raft or slide around on a dish avoiding hazards, and this kept the game a bit fresh for me. While I also enjoyed the enemy variants and the special abilities that comes from executing them, some of the weapons you get from executing enemies are as useful as Conor McGregor's ankles. You get a fireworks gun that's from the accordion looking enemies that I found was a waste of the execution ability. You can also remove drill bits from giant enemies' heads, and I also found this weapon to be a bit useless as it's a melee style weapon and it didn't really work for my playstyle. I found it to be just a flat waste of an execution token. Speaking of enemies, even at the end of the game you're getting new enemies thrown at you, which personally just isn't a great idea. Story-wise, the main campaign took me about 5.5 hours to finish on medium difficulty, and you're given new enemies at the end of the game. Rather than pacing new enemies out and giving us more variety when it comes to game combat arenas like Doom does, the last couple of combat arenas felt like Doom, where I needed to prioritise enemies and keep an eye on health pickups, but most of the time I was flying through combat because there just wasn't many different types of enemies at the early or even second act of the game. Still on combat, there was a bug in the game that basically gave me infinite ammo with the shotgun. If I continuously pressed fire on the mouse, even with a full auto attachment on the shotgun, it would constantly fire without ammo. The shotgun in Shadow Warrior 3, as I already mentioned, fucking slaps, but obviously it doesn't have a heap of ammo. And this bug actually helped towards the end of the game because I was getting over Lo Wang's constant wisecracking and I just wanted to move through the game. Finally, what I found missing big time in Shadow Warrior 3 was the music. Shadow Warrior 3 is a bit of Doom and Devil May Cry with its character and enemy introductions, but what both Devil May Cry and Doom has is the best music. Doom's music is damn iconic with its fat and heavy riffs, while Devil May Cry still has its iconic music, but it isn't copied and pasted from Doom, it's unique and it stands out on its own. The music on top of the combat is what kept me glued to Doom. I enjoyed the combat of Devil May Cry because it flowed so well and the music matched the on-screen demon slaying. But with Shadow Warrior 3, after the novelty of Lo Wang wore off and became more of a bother, I booted up my Spotify and started listening to Dream Widow, which is basically the Foo Fighters metal song from their movie Studio 666, and some other music that would get me in the zone or keep me in the zone to just keep playing. But is Shadow Warrior 3 worth your time? Whether it's playing it once or playing it 60 times, yeah, it's fun and I'm actually glad I checked it out. The combat is smooth, the ability to execute enemies and gain special weapons and upgrades from them is, yeah, really cool. The demon and character designs of enemies are also really cool and the gore from the combat and executions are brutal. It is a shorter campaign, but if you find yourself getting tired of the gameplay or Lo Wang's wisecracks, then you'll be happy to know that you've probably only got about an hour or two left and then it's done. If you're a first-person shooter fan, then yeah, I'd say, like my mate suggested, check out Shadow Warrior 3.
It's raining demons! Hallelujah, it's raining demons! Hey, hey, hey.